Hey everyone, welcome to Strong. I am so excited to introduce you to our next guest. But before we do that, if this is your very first time tuning in to Strong, I just want to give you a little tip on what you should be looking out for. These episodes are all about interviewing real women with real stories. They're sharing our life stories, and the aim is always to empower our youth, but also to support women all over the world. So I can't wait to get started with our next episode, episode 6 with Zarine. Welcome to Strong, Zarine.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so excited to have you on the show, not just because I think that you're one of the most amazing women I have met on my journey here in the UAE, but also because I believe that you have a story that can support so many around the world.
Thank you.
So I'm really excited. And as always, we're going to start with, I believe, probably one of the most self-enriching questions we can ever ask ourselves. And that question is always, who is Zarine?
True. And I've learned to say, I am me. Yes, we play several roles in life, and we come from different places and follow different faiths and have nationalities. But the most important thing I feel is for someone to accept that they are themselves. And so yes, I'm a mom, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a teacher. I facilitate sessions of meditation, healing, space clearings, etc. But at the base of it, I am me.
What does that feel like to be you?
So it's been a long journey for me to be able to say that it feels very comfortable at the moment, and it feels safe, and it feels empowering in a way where I can share what I have learned over the years with so many people across so many nationalities. That's the beauty of Dubai. And so many different fields in life. So when I'm at corporates, it's a different feeling, empowering them to de-stress, etc. When I'm with ministries or government offices, with students, with a general group, with families, it's always a different feeling of being able to change lives just ever so slightly, and give them tools that they can go to when they feel overwhelmed, basically, which is what is needed in today's life, because everybody, no matter what they're doing, have a feeling of not enough time, too much to do. Family time is becoming less and less, so it's beautiful.
And I love how you talk about the work that you do, but today's really about the woman, Zarine.
Yes.
So I want to take you back a little bit, if that's okay.
Sure.
You talked about, you said for now it feels comfortable.
Yes.
What does that mean? Because that's the journey, isn't it? I think sometimes as women we are so quickly trying to get to the next stage that sometimes we never really take the time to stop and appreciate how far we've come. So talk to me about what that means for now. It's comfortable, and how you got to this comfort zone.
So yes, I was, as a teenager, I recollect that my father was wise enough to take me to a meditation course that changed my life. So that period of my life flowed very smoothly, because I was already into, excuse me, a system that gave me the time and the allowance to do all the things I wanted to do as a teenager. And I had a supportive family environment, which I think was also very important. After that, things kind of became a roller coaster, where college and then marriage and having children and having them really quickly, and teaching at the same time, everything was for me at that point overwhelming. But again, that meditation practice and other systems that I had started learning took me through those phases as well. So there was yoga, there was breathing, there were things that I used to turn to even at that point.
That's amazing.
So,
and that's something I think we don't share enough of as women, is it felt overwhelming.
Yes.
Getting married, having children, you know, the process of growing and developing can feel overwhelming.
It is.
And as a mom, a wife, a teacher, a practitioner, you support so many people. What do you do when nobody's watching? How do you spend that time alone?
I just like to read and watch videos that may teach me more stuff. Also just sit peacefully with both my dogs. I have two beautiful Yorkshire Terriers, and they give me the most peace. So yes, spending time at home is my way of de-stressing, because when I'm out and about, it's always, you know, you expend a lot of energy, so you need that time to come back and regroup.
And especially in the work that you do, I almost imagine people will assume that you should have a certain amount of Zen. You should be able to have that work-life balance because you're a practitioner. How does that feel? What kind of pressure does that put on you?
And while I am out and about and with groups and people, I feel very secure and very grounded and very earthed. It can sometimes be depleting if I have not rested enough for myself before. And so taking time out for myself, there are times when so much is happening, and sometimes I just look up and ask the universe, it's getting too much, and something or the other gets cancelled.
Because you're human.
So it's, yes, the time is always made, and if I feel if there is a purpose that you are moving towards, and if you have a heart that's open and you're giving, everything else will fall into place.
And what does that feel like to Zarine on those days when you're being human and you're looking up and saying, universe, you gotta help me. It's not working in my favor today.
Yes.
How do you handle days like that?
I just wait for things to fall into place and rest as much as I can and nourish myself, because at the end of the day, when we say self-love is taking care of yourself and looking after yourself and only loving yourself, and only then can you love and take care of others, which is truly what needs to be practiced and what I am trying my level best to practice. So looking after myself first.
The number one job,
True.
but it's also really challenging
It's very
sometimes,
difficult,
isn't it?
yes.
Especially as you have so many different roles that you play. And do you find that all these different roles, as mother, as wife, as practitioner, as teacher, everybody expects your 100% all the time? And sometimes it can feel a little bit challenging to give it.
It does, and then something or the other has to, I won't say be sacrificed, but has to be lowered in priority. And I'm blessed that the children are now independent and able to look after themselves. It's usually my husband, bless him. He's very supportive and very loving, but there are times when I feel that I'm not spending enough time with him. So we try our best to make that time whenever I'm not busy in the mornings or in the evenings, and have that time together. So that is my only challenge.
And that is the challenge of being a woman in the 21st century, isn't
True.
it? How do we do it all and be it all and have it all?
True.
And you know, what is the balance, and who or what will get the lower end of that balance sometimes,
True.
isn't it?
True.
So in my work with teenagers, I see very often that they look up to role models almost as if they're superhuman, and they assume that they went from 16 to perfection overnight. And there's almost this very fast theory, fast life, everything is happening at super fast speed, especially with social media, people posting only the best of them. And there's this trend of living my best life. If you could go back to that age when you were 14, 15, 16, what would you do different, or what would you tell younger Zarine that she should do, be, or have to prepare her for the journey you're living now?
I would probably share with her something I have learned along the years, and that is this: each person's happiness lies within them. and it does not depend on anyone or anything outside of themselves. And in every 10 seconds, and I learned this through another healing modality, you have a choice. No matter where you are or who you are with, you have the choice to choose to be happy in that moment. And so every 10 seconds of your life, if you have that choice and it is your choice, this is what I think young people need to understand, that they don't depend on others for their happiness.
Every 10 seconds?
Every 10 seconds,
So
no matter where you are or what is happening.
That's a really unconscious, like 10 seconds.
Yes. Yes.
So every 10 seconds, we get to decide consciously
To choose happiness.
And do you find that happiness is probably one of the greatest challenges you see with clients?
I have this question often, and happiness is, again, not something permanent, which is what a lot of people feel. It's very, very temporary, and probably this is why we say 10 seconds, because it's more the hormones in the body that are secreted that create that feeling of happiness. And so the 4 hormones, I won't go into details, but it is basically, you can actually just have artificial laughter that creates happiness in your body. That's what laughter yoga is about. But we also have things like helping others that creates happiness in the body. This is what happens with millionaires when they have done everything, they have everything. They move towards charity work and they move towards giving. And that brings them the satisfaction and the happiness. So each hormone that is secreted that takes you to this high, or even if it's temporary, is just basic things and activities and tools that children can be taught, which would bring them that feeling of satisfaction and happiness.
And how do you find happiness?
By choosing it.
How do we consciously make that choice? So how do you consciously make that choice to be happy with what's going on in the world right now?
Again, another teacher taught us that smiling to yourself will bring you to the now like nothing else can, because your mind has to think you're smiling. And in that moment, in that now moment, you have a choice. If you were having sad thoughts that were taking you down into the past, thoughts of regret, or if you were having worried thoughts that were taking you into the future, but again, a loss of energy here and here. If you smile to yourself and you move into a thought of gratitude, any thought of gratitude, thank you for my eyes that see, thank you for my hands that hold, etc. We have thousands of things to be grateful about in each moment. That level of energy that gratitude brings is a very high level, and it is very close to happiness, because when you are in gratitude, you pull more things to you to be grateful for. So just smiling to yourself and saying, I'm so blessed. You know, I have a home, I have maybe a car, I have some money in my wallet, I get food regularly, water comes out of my tap, I have a comfortable bed to sleep in. So many things that you can be grateful for.
So many. And I think only when you realize that there are those out there that have less than you start to appreciate. And I've recently learned that firsthand on one of my adventures in life. But today is about you. So let's go back to your journey a little bit deeper, if that's okay.
Sure.
And you talked about happiness, and every 10 seconds we can choose to be happy or not. Through your life, being a mom, being a daughter, what would you say were the greatest challenges that you faced this far in your life?
So I didn't know this about happiness earlier. It's a recent learning. I would say that I was kind of at a loss for what to do when my father fell really ill and he developed Alzheimer's. And I was always used to looking up to him and going to him for guidance. Even after I was married, he would always be, you know, there for advice, etc. And then when he fell really ill, and I felt helpless because there was nothing I could do. And there were times when I had to be almost strict with him, like a child, because otherwise things got out of hand. And he never understood that. And so when he passed away, that was one of the most, I wouldn't say traumatic, but difficult phases in my life, where I felt helpless, basically.
And at that stage in your life, were you a practitioner like you are today, or were you on that journey?
No, I was still a teacher. I was studying a lot of healing modalities, and after that I did a course on being with the dying, and that taught me a lot about how to handle people who are sick and terminal, and at phases of their lives when these things are happening. So there are things that people can learn how to deal with
even
sickness.
in your most challenging time, you were still helping.
Yes.
How does that feel to be in that challenging time when you're in it, you're experiencing it? How do you get through it and still have to be helping and still have to be supporting?
Sometimes you're impatient, sometimes you're angry, and that's okay. Because you have to do what you have to do and express what you have to express. These things are part of life, and you move through them with all the tools that you have and do the best that you can, which is, at that point, I had to support my mom, and things were not easy. So I wasn't there when he passed away, but I flew down immediately for the funeral, and then it was even difficult because he always believed that death was beautiful, and we were not to grieve for the soul, etc. So yes, that was a difficult time for us all.
And how did you overcome it, Zarine? Being that person that people turn to, being that teacher, the practitioner. How did you overcome the emotional obstacles of that loss?
Even in that, there were so many lessons, because I was very quiet for a while. I was not as social as I used to be. So you need to take that time to reflect and to learn and to assimilate basically what it meant for somebody so close to you to pass away. And then you come upon all these realizations about how life doesn't end at death and how the soul continues and beautiful stuff like that. It's of course the people left behind that suffer, but the soul itself just moves on, which is beautiful. And some modalities and some belief systems will also say that it comes back to you in different forms. So these are beliefs that we hold on to and we can never prove, but they give you solace and consolation.
And what do you believe, Zarine?
I do believe that the soul returns in different forms and different relationships. And I do believe that death is beautiful, and that you simply merge with the light once you have passed from this life, and that you choose to return if there is still something that you need to learn, or there is still something that you need to do and assist for the betterment of the earth and for humanity.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And I know that you have 3 children,
Yes.
3 adult children,
Yes.
2 daughters,
Yes.
and a son.
Yes.
When you look at them now and you think, wow, I remember being that age,
Yes.
what do you wish that you could have done to prepare yourself for now that teaches them we can be strong, but we're human, so we're allowed to be vulnerable, we're allowed to express ourselves?
Yes. It was a journey of trial and error, as it is for excuse me, for all families, I'm sure. And it was difficult with our first daughter when she left for university, and we were not aware that she was overwhelmed being alone in Canada. We were all here at that point, and it was much later that we realized that she went through her own difficulties and trials, and that we had not prepared her for what she was facing, because in Dubai, students are so cushioned. It's safe, they're not street smart, and so when they go abroad, it becomes very overwhelming for them. But she managed to find her way, and bless her, she's been my biggest teacher, and I say this all the time. And then when my second daughter and my son went to the same city, the same university, she was always there to guide them and help them. But yes, I would have prepared them differently. I would have educated myself more about the realities in a world that was alien to us at that time, and not kept them that safe while they were here.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
Yes.
I remember being in that position as well, and it's a hard place to be in as a mom, because you want to protect them and you want to keep them safe and you want to give them the best life that they possibly can have. But it's hard to let them go too, isn't it? Trusting that you've done enough.
Very hard, yes. And when we just left her there and came away, of course, most of us were in tears, but she felt totally alone. And we just, left her standing there at the airport, because at that point she was like, go, because she was, also very emotional. But that's what she remembers, that we just left her there and walked away. So that was kind of heartbreaking to realize a year later that this is how she felt. But yes, everybody learns their lessons in their own time.
So Zarine, you're a woman, so much ahead of you. You've come so far. What are your hopes? What are your aspirations? Where do you go from where you are right now?
I feel blessed. Truly, if I was to pass tomorrow, I'd be more than happy. But if I am to continue, then yes, my sharing of everything that I've learned and bringing the message, for me, my message is the message of sound, because science is now looking at sound as the ultimate healing frontier. And to spread it as much as I can in Dubai and in other places around the world. And it's really picking up, and everybody's wanting sound, which is beautiful. So that, and of course to become a grandmom.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, my second daughter is married and planning to have a baby, and my son is getting married in August. So we look forward to.
And your daughter has a school. She's running a homeschool, isn't she?
In Dubai.
Amazing, amazing. So following you around the world with your healings is going to be a journey definitely that we want to keep watching out for.
Thank you.
But Zarine, this show is not just about helping the youth. It's about creating a community for women and females around the world. It's for helping men who have to live with us, who have to understand us, potentially employ us. But definitely it's about building our communities. And it's not just about giving, it's also about receiving. How can we help you on this strong journey?
I would like to share the meditations and practices with a lot of men. I have been asking all the centers to do sessions for men only, and Illuminations had one, which was beautiful. I think a lot of men are becoming aware of their feminine sides, and we call them the quantum man, where I feel women have become more aware of their masculine side, because they've had to stand up for themselves and support themselves and fight for their rights, etc. But I feel the men are really sidetracked. There are so many things happening for women, so many workshops, so many ceremonies, so many awakenings. But the men from childhood have been taught that, a simple thing like crying is weakness. And they need to be re-educated and allowed to embrace their darkest emotions and their fears, and to show vulnerability, to be open to receiving any kind of guidance, any kind of support, to ask for support, which is what most men will not do. They will just close in and move into depression, or go into, especially men now who are at retirement age, if they don't have a hobby, if they don't have something to look forward to. This is what happened with my dad, because as soon as he retired, he started going into this downward spiral. So I think there needs to be also support for the men.
And that's really exciting for you to hear, because season 2 is all about men and boys.
Beautiful.
So it's going to be from boys to men. So we're definitely going to want to bring you back for an interview when we have some men on the panel as well. So if you are a man out there or a young teenage boy and you're thinking about a new meditation technique, you definitely want to check out Zarine. I believe you're on Instagram, Facebook, and you can contact us here directly and we'll definitely put you in touch.
Thank you.
Zarine, this brings us to the end of our interview. Having you today has been really special for me, because you've been with me in the last, I think it's almost 3 years that we've been on a journey together.
Yeah.
You've been one of those people that I can tap into when I need healing or when I need support. And I think it's important that we are able to share these experiences with people we can trust. So thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure, my love.
And I look forward to learning more about your journey and following you and everything that you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
So if this was your very first episode, I am so thrilled to have you watching our show. If you've never seen any of the episodes before, definitely check out all of the interviews. And we look forward to seeing you again next week when we meet Nimi Mehta. Thank you for watching.